Welcome. Thank you for joining me for Yoga for Compact Spaces. If you have a tight area in your house or your dorm room, maybe it's an apartment or even your office and you want to do some yoga on your lunch, this is the perfect video. You won't need anything bigger than about the size of your mat. Everything we're going to do will stay contained onto our mat very nicely. This is a great one for traveling, so you have to go away for the holidays. Maybe you're visiting family or friends and you just don't have a whole lot of space. I'm actually in a very, very tight space right here. This is all the room I have, and we're gonna make this work just fine. So this is a great video for small spaces. My name is Jody, and I am filming this for the York County Library in South Carolina. So we are actually going to start on our back today. So finding a comfortable position on your back, we're gonna start with a full body stretch like this. Full body stretch. We're gonna allow our shoulders to rest completely and fully into the mat, and then we're gonna alternate hugging one knee in at a time. As we pull the knee in, really try to leave the shoulders connected to the mat. Let's pause on this side. Press the shoulder blades down and back, and then take the left palm to the outside of the right knee, pulling it diagonally across your body. So the knee is moving towards your shoulder. We're going to work a little deeper here into the piriformis. And remember, our goal here is just really pushing to your edge, but not past it. So we're just looking for that point of a mild tension is all. Go ahead and release, open up, and let's open up the opposite side, pull it in. Flatten your shoulder blades to the mat, take the right palm to the outside of the left knee, pull it diagonally across. Deep belly breathing as we hold each stretch, so really focus on inhaling deeply and fully through the nose, and then exhaling completely through the nose. Release. One more full body stretch, and let's bring both knees in towards the chest. We can crunch up into a little ball, and we're going to start to circle our ankles, making big circles with the ankles. And then we're going to reverse that, going the opposite direction. And see if we can make our ball just a little bit tighter, and let's start to make a couple circles clockwise. Reverse, counterclockwise. And then release the head back down to the mat, taking your heels so they're directly underneath your knees. I'm just turning this direction so you have a better view. You, of course, can stay on your mat. We're going to tighten the core, so think about flattening your spine. I'm going to push all that space and make it go away by flattening my back, just doing a little pelvic tilt, tightening through the core, and then lifting through the heels as we come up into a bridge. This is our inhale. And then exhale, slowly lower back down. So with our inhale, we lift up, we build the bridge, and then on our exhale, we roll down nice and slow. Let's continue. If you'd like to add arms, we can inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, and then exhale the hands back down into your sides. Go ahead and begin to flow with your breath. Remember, there's no hurry to get anywhere. We can take our time, really feeling the movement and noticing how each move feels in our bodies today. That'll definitely vary from practice to practice. On our next bridge, go ahead and leave your hands by your sides, and let's lift the hips up as high as we comfortably can, and if possible, walk your shoulder blades a little bit closer together, interlace fingertips, and then send your hips just a little bit higher. Chest opener with our bridge, working on core and lower body strength as well.
Release the hands slowly and gently roll back down. Taking our right ankle over the left, we're gonna flex our foot, reach through so we can hook the hands behind our left thigh, gently pull into our chest, keeping this figure four, and then actively pressing both shoulder blades into our mat, leaving them here. Breathing. We really focus on our breath with each practice. You'll notice it helps you get into poses with a little more ease, a little more comfort, and perhaps even a little bit deeper. Exhale, release the left foot to the mat. We're going to open our arms wide and we're going to let the right heel go down towards the floor. Now, I have a block. I didn't mention that at the beginning of practice, but if you have a block and this stretch feels like the mat's too far away, just take your block and close the distance and rest your foot on the block. If you don't have a block, a smaller, firmer, like couch cushion or a throw pillow could work as well. So we're in a gentle spinal twist with our shoulder blades connected to the mat. Breathing into the twist. And on our next inhale, we begin to make our way back upright. Go ahead and switch legs, left ankle on top of right, flexing our left foot, and then reaching behind and hugging our right thigh into our chest. We tend to round a lot through our upper back and through the shoulders. So I'm going to invite you to roll the shoulders down and back, drop them into the mat, even actively pressing them into the mat. And for those of us that are tight through the chest and even the front of the shoulders, the motion of just pressing shoulder blades down and back can feel like a slight stretch across the shoulders. Breathing and holding here. And then we'll slowly lower this leg down, opening up our arms, moving towards our gentle twist. So again, if the floor is too far away, this is where we put our block or the small cushion, dropping the foot down. And if you'd like, countering the twist by turning our gaze and looking away. Inhale, bring the knees back to the center. And let's open up our feet about mat distance apart and just gently rock our knees from side to side. The next time our knees move over towards the left, we're going to roll all the way onto our side and just make our way up into tabletop position. In tabletop, we stack the hips right on top of our knees like this, and our shoulders stack right on top of our wrist. If you have any wrist discomfort or issues, you might want to make a fist for a wrist and stack the joint this way. We're going to begin with Shakavadkasana, which is cat-cow, and we inhale, drop the bellies down, bring the gaze up, and then exhale, tuck the tailbone under and round it up as high as you can. Again, there's no hurry to get anywhere, so begin to slowly make your way back and forth in cat-cow. Really, at this point, now that we're creating a little bit of heat and warmth, making yourself as big as you can throughout the range of motion. Very healthy for our spine. We will do one more in each direction. And then we will move into side lateral flexion. So making sure first that the core is engaged. That means drawing the belly button up and in towards your spine. Inhale, peek over your left shoulder, drawing the hip in and squeezing slightly. Come back to center and then move to the other side. So it's almost like we're wagging a tail behind us. I'm peeking over one shoulder, closing the space, coming back to the center, and then moving to the other side. Now, if you want to make this even a little bit bigger, feel free to add the feet and switch sides as we go. So I'm just picking up my feet and moving them back and forth to get a little deeper into my side stretch. Of course, we're still moving with our breath. Let's do one more on each side. So we're ending on the opposite side that we started on. As we come back to center, let's create a little more space between the knees, and then rest your hips down to your heels and find child's pose. So arms can stretch out in front of us, forehead can rest on your mat. We can bring our palms together, thumbs coming right behind our head. After your last deep breath in, go ahead and make your way back up into tabletop, back to all fours, and let's take our right palm directly underneath our nose. Inhale, left fingertips high, and let's pause here, holding a spinal twist. Go ahead and peek up towards the ceiling, and take this time to check in with your breath. Is each deep breath reaching the base of our belly? Sometimes we get a little caught up in what we're trying to do, posture or pose-wise, that we simply forget to take that efficient deep belly breath. And if that's happening now, maybe you reverted back to a shallower chest breath, it's okay. You can even pause, come out of the twist, start over, and then focus on your breath. With our exhale, we are gonna bend this elbow, thread the needle, coming all the way down to your mat. Head and neck is relaxed on the mat and creating space between the ear and the shoulder. And for some of us, this might be deep enough, so we can hold right here. For some of you, you might want to walk the right fingertips to the top of the mat. Maybe you want to reach the fingertips to the ceiling. Or last stop is a bind, looking for your back left pocket or even your front pocket. Each exhale, allow yourself to sink a little deeper into the stretch, allowing the back of your shoulder, your posterior deltoid, release and open up. Remember, if it's hard to maintain that long, smooth breath, you're probably pushing a little bit too far for today into the posture. With our next breath, we're going to begin to unwind, countering that, lifting our left fingertips up once more. And exhale, place our left palm down directly under our nose, and inhale our right fingertips high. Holding here, several deep breaths. Perhaps each exhale, we can open up just a centimeter deeper into our twist, really expanding our chest here. On our next exhale, go ahead and bend the elbow, thread the needle. So we're coming all the way down onto our mat. Remember, it's important to create space between the ear and the shoulder. So if you feel like you're kind of squeezing the shoulder in and wearing your shoulder as an earring, go ahead and roll it down, create a little more space, and then decide, do you want a little bit more stretch? If you do, walk the left fingertips to the top of the mat, reach the palm to the ceiling, or find the bind. There's no right or wrong, we're just going by how we feel today, always listening to our bodies. That can be challenging to do sometimes. One last breath in, slowly release on your exhale. Taking our right fingertips up once more and releasing both hands to the mat.
Setting up for downward facing dog. So very important that you have a really wide fingertip stance. So almost like creating a starfish hand. We're gonna place your thumbs about 4 to 6 inches apart, turn the toes under, lift the hips high, and we come into downward facing dog. So side view, I'm just creating an inverted V. I'm pressing through my palms, lifting my hips, pushing my heels down towards my mat. Now most of us won't reach the mat, and that's okay. But let's begin to bicycle out our heels, just bending one knee at a time. You can even shift your hips from side to side, and sometimes you'll notice you'll hear or maybe feel a little self-adjustment in your body, a little popping or cracking, and that's perfectly okay as long as it's pain-free. On our next inhale, we're going to move into plank pose. So we have a couple options here. Shoulders stack right on top of your wrist. I can come down to my knees if that's too much, but what we want to avoid, a common mistake, is letting our hips drop. That's really bad for our low backs. So pull the belly in, zip up your core, and then choose supported plank on your knees or on your toes. Option just to hold your plank, or if you want to work a little bit more upper body strength, we can do 3 yoga push-ups, and it can be done for your knees or your toes, where we inhale, squeeze our elbows in, exhale, push up. So it's almost like your elbows are scraping the side of your rib cage on the way down, hugging them in, so the triceps have to do a lot of the work, and then exhale back up into downward facing dog. Let's start to walk our hands all the way back to meet our feet. So we're coming into a forward fold. This is a good place to use your block or maybe your cushion if the floor feels a little bit too far away. You can also bend your knees here. So nothing wrong with having a little bend in your knees if your fold is too deep. We're going to take our palms to our elbows into ragdoll. Allow your head and neck to start to feel very heavy. And we're going to gently nod your head yes. Shake your head no. And then if it feels okay, gently sway from side to side. Pausing at the center, and then inhale, reverse swan dive, reaching all the way up overhead, little baby back bend, and release hands to heart center. Go ahead and bring your feet all the way in together, and let's take another deep breath in, interlacing the fingertips, pressing our palms straight up to the ceiling, reaching up and then over to the left as we press weight into the outer edge of our right foot, opening up our side body. Inhaling back to center, exhaling other side. Inhaling back to center, exhale, palms come straight out in front. So side view, I'm trying to round through my upper back, pushing my shoulder blades apart and breathing. Inhale, come back up to center, and then exhale, little baby back bend. Opening up, looking towards the ceiling. And let's inhale back to center, exhale, hands to heart center. Most yoga classes will combine some component of strength, flexibility, and balance. So we're gonna move into tree pose. So we're gonna go ahead and lift up our toes on the right foot. And as we go to set them down, we're going to create as much space between each toe as possible. And then if your balance is a little off, just reach for the wall for a little extra stability, or you can even leave a big toe down, hands at heart center. If you decide to come up a little bit higher, this is fine. It can be as high or as low as you want, but find a focal point for your gaze, lock your gaze in there, and then think about pressing foot into the thigh, thigh into the foot, or calf, or wherever you have your foot. Now, let's begin to open the hips by pulling the knee back, breathing, and keeping that soft micro bend in the knee. That means we have a soft knee. It's really hard to balance on a joint that's locked out. It's also really hard to balance if you have a thicker yoga mat, or if you're on thick carpet like me, makes it a little bit more challenging. If you want to grow the branches of your tree, we can inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, relax the shoulders. Yes. Inhale, slowly bring the hands back to heart center. With control, release the leg and just walk it out, shifting our hips side to side, back and forth. And let's go ahead and try that on the opposite side. So lifting up the toes on the left foot, spread them as wide as you can. And you're gonna notice one side's dominant. One side's a little bit easier to balance on it than the other. So maybe this is a side you need to have a wall nearby, or maybe you leave the kickstand down and leave your toe touching. Hands to heart center. Let's all find our focal point and then begin to open the hips by drawing the knee towards the back of your mat. If it feels good on this side, begin to lift the arms up and over. Inhale, exhaling shoulders away from the ears. Breathing. If you're feeling rock solid today and you're not waving in the wind at all, you could try closing your eyes. That's going to add a different element of challenge. Inhale, hands to heart center with control. Release your leg and go ahead and shake it out, moving the hips from side to side. One more balancing pose. We are going to plant our feet so they're about hip distance apart. And we're going to inhale as we lift up onto our tippy toes. And then exhale with control, lower back down to heart center. So we inhale, lift up as high as we can. Exhale, lower down. So let's flow with this. Each repetition, see if you can lift your heels up a little bit higher. I'm a little limited with my range of motion. One of my feet, I have a fused joint, but you're going to continue to lift up higher and higher. And we're going to keep our feet that hip distance apart because we're going to make it a little more challenging here. Let's do one more. This one lifting up as high as you possibly can, leaving your heels lifted. We're going to balance on the balls of the feet and we're going to slowly make our way down into balancing chair. So I'm lifting my heels. I'm keeping the heels lifted as I come back into chair pose. Now, as you find your chair pose, can you challenge yourself just a little bit more by dropping your hips an inch lower, but lift your heels an inch higher? So you might be feeling a little burn right here. We're firing our quadriceps, front of our thighs, breathing, holding, and then exhale, drop your heels, reach for the mat in front of you, forward fold. Yes, breathing and holding your fold. On our next breath, stepping back into downward facing dog. And let's challenge ourselves with one more plank hold. So remember, shoulders stacked right above the wrist, whether you're in a full plank or a supported plank, that's up to you. Holding the plank and breathing, or choosing to do your 3 yoga push-ups, hugging your elbows into your side ribs, building core and upper body strength. And then we press back up and back into our downward facing dog. Inhale, our left heel high, so you're in 3-legged dog. And then bend the knee, drop the heel behind you, and let's look under the shoulder. Inhale, take a big step forward, and we're gonna find a runner's lunge. So side view and runner's lunge, my knee will be stacked right on top of my heel, back leg is long. Now for some of us, it might feel better to drop to the knee, and this is fine. If you have 2 blocks and you wanna lift up a little bit higher, this is one option. But let's all take our palm to the inside of our foot, and we're gonna twist belly button in towards the knee. Breathing, holding. On our exhale, unwind and reverse the twist, staying on this side. I just received a self-adjustment. So remember, if you feel a pop or hear a noise, as long as it's pain-free, it's okay. Exhale, release, bring both palms down, step back into downward facing dog, and inhale, right heel up. So we're coming back into our three-legged dog. Bend the knee, drop it behind you, continue the twist by looking under the shoulder. And then on our inhale, stepping forward, runner's lunge, opposite side. So really make sure we have that knee stacked right on top of the heel. And then if it's more comfortable, you can always drop to your back knee. I have my block here to close the distance. Take your palm to the inside of the foot. And let's start with our first twist. Navel towards the knee, breathing into the twist. On our exhale, begin to unwind. Open up, twisting to the opposite direction. On our exhale, release, dropping to our knee, bringing the knees together, and have a seat in child's pose. From child's pose, we're just gonna have a seat and make our way back onto our back. So we're tucking our tailbones under, coming to the forearms, and then rolling all the way down onto your mat. Extend the legs, open up into one last full body stretch. Make yourself as long as you can. And then bring your arms into your sides and settle in as we make our way into final relaxation or Shavasana. Very important part of our practice as we see on all the benefits of what we've done today. So let's start by pulling your shoulder blades down and back, pulling them a little bit closer together. If you choose to remain on your back, palms will be up, feet will naturally open out, and we're going to close our eyes. Body temperatures do tend to drop, so if you'd like to add another layer back on, we can do so now. And if you're not really neutral or resting in this position, perhaps you want to try final relaxation on your side, or maybe even seated with the support of the wall behind you. There's no right or wrong with final relaxation, so find your resting pose, close your eyes, and begin to bring your awareness back to your breath. Keeping our eyes closed, let's begin to bring our awareness back into the space. We can begin to awaken our bodies by gently wiggling our fingers and our toes. Putting a bend in our knees and gently rocking our knees from side to side. Next time your knees move to the right, we're rolling over onto our right side. And then very slowly pressing our left palm into your mat so that you can make your way back up into a seated position. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed here. Sit up as tall as you can, pressing shoulder blades down towards your back pocket, finding good posture. And let's take a cleansing breath together. Let's take a deep inhale, audible exhale through the mouth. And one more big deep breath in. This time we exhale, hands to heart center. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.